at the same time, we're standing there and we're staring at the sign, and the sign says how it's bringing drugs over the border is illegal, punishable by death. We're like, okay, wait a minute, punishable by death. That's a lightning bolt for a P. Huh? That's a lightning bolt, right? They're like, yeah, that's Harry Potter font. They literally took the Harry Potter font and are using this as their marquee for the death penalty. Like, what? Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel, a podcast about anime, games, life, everything in between, and occasionally we'll actually talk about something meaningful. I'm your host today,
Don't count on it.
Joseph, and this is episode 28. We're recording this on October 7th. This will usually come out on the Saturday after, so hopefully the 8th, God willing, or maybe if my co-host here gets his act together. The guy who always likes to, burn things. He likes to, he sometimes he'll go ahead and, set a little fire here or there. Don't tell his dad that it was him that, burnt down the garage.
I'm going to have to object to that on legal grounds.
Allegedly burn things.
Allegedly.
There you go.
There you go. Allegedly.
My buddy Nick. How you doing, Nick?
Doing good. My back is really sore from carrying this podcast. So, I just need some extra time on Saturday to get it together. But
he's carrying the kerosene, which allegedly might have burnt down his father's garage.
Kerosene, I mean, it really lights. But if you want to really make a big show, you use gasoline, because gasoline explodes, and that's always fun for everybody involved. But I should be able to get it out. I should be able to get it out by tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. Not that anybody's
You haven't
watching.
really failed us yet, so there's one time, but we don't hold that against you. So
I probably had a good reason. But yeah, anyway, otherwise I'm doing okay. I'm excited to talk about video games and the news and anime.
All right. Well, nothing else happening to you over this last couple weeks? You seem like you had something planned, but it seemed like it fell through.
I don't know what you're talking about. But I'm trying. I'm searching my brain. I don't know if you're just fucking with me or what.
I'm just fucking with you, dude.
Okay.
It's one of those nights, man. It's been a long couple weeks.
Well, I mean, I will say that since our last cast, University of Arkansas Razorback football team has lost twice, one in a barn burner to Texas A&M, which sucked, and then we got beat real bad against Alabama, which we knew was coming, but we lost our quarterback in that one, so now we're probably going to lose tomorrow's game too, so I'm not having a great time there.
I thought that Alabama game was further back than just this last bit. Okay. Wow. Like I said, I'm really off with time right now. It's
I mean, I don't blame you. Like, I kind of watched it. I took a nap during it when we started to lose pretty bad and woke up when we were doing a little bit better. But it doesn't matter to a video game podcast, but it has definitely, man, we were doing so good at the beginning of the season. And it was all about these two games, especially the A&M game, and we should have won that. But who fucking cares? Because this is a video game podcast, so we can just skip right along and not think about football anymore.
All right. Let's avoid those sore topics for Nick there. And yeah, so you pulled some news that you'd like to talk about, what you thought was important. So tell us, what do you think is important?
A couple things. First thing, Stadia died. Do you remember Stadia? It was that Google, from Google, what do you call it? Like virtual gaming cloud service.
Yep. Just like many others before it, Gaikai is the most relevant one that I could remember. Those things never really work out too well.
Like, everyone knew that it was going to die whenever it came out. And everybody put their best foot forward I don't know if you were listening to a podcast, but I remember I think I was in Hawaii still, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna give it a try," and Google doesn't hold on to anything, and doesn't really, go the extra mile for anything that it actually believes in, or we can even tell if it believes in. And so it's probably gonna die in a year or two, but maybe not. Let's see what it's like. And everybody tested it out, and it was okay, but it didn't have any games. And lo and behold, who could have guessed? Now it's dead.
Yeah, they actually took a lot longer than expected, to be honest. So I think a lot of the problems was the messaging across the board. Everyone expected in their mind that it should come out as a like a Game Pass situation or some sort of the Netflix of video games, and they're like, okay, you're gonna have, you'll the things that you're gonna be paying for is essentially just like Netflix. You got your standard definition or your HD, equivalent, your 4K. So that's what a lot of people were expecting, but they're like, no, dude, you got to pay for these games individually, and then you technically own them, but you still have to be signed online. And lo and behold, the system is now going to be erased, and you don't own anything. Um,
Yeah.
Now, for what it's worth, they, despite taking all your stuff away and you're not getting to play anything, they're at least giving everyone a full refund. Um, and that's something. It's granted it's Google, they can afford to do that, but to be refunding people, that's at least a good sign. It's a good way to step out at, not pissing everyone off. But yeah, I think the biggest news article was, oh goodness, I forgot who did it. It was either Kotaku or Polygon, but they talked about how uh someone played like Red Dead for
I was gonna bring
over
this up.
200 something
I
hours.
think it was like six. I
And
think it was like 6,000 hours.
oh really,
I
was
think
it
it
was
was
even that much?
ridiculous when you think about that number. I think it was like 6,000 hours.
Yeah, and so they tried pleading with Rockstar to to let their account carry over. And one of the top comments was the best thing Rockstar can do is ignore that plea and not let the person carry over their stuff so they
Why?
can stop playing.
Oh, yeah, just like cut their addiction off. Like like
Yeah.
we're doing this for your own good, boy. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
so
I didn't know all
I don't
that
know.
though. I just kind of saw that it had died, Steady had died, but I didn't know that they were issuing refunds. That shows exactly how much research I did into this topic before we started the podcast. So you're saying that they're what are they issuing like a month, 2 months, or the whole thing? Or do you know?
Um, the general things I've been hearing is just issuing refunds as a whole. So I was assuming for for the unit, at least the minimum of the units themselves, if not refunding them games as well. The games might be a little difficult, but at least issuing refunds for the unit is what I was my understanding. Uh,
This was always such a
but
weird thing to me. It's like I like why sink all this money and time into this? I mean, I guess maybe it actually costs a lot less uh, across the board, time, money, all that stuff than we think it does. And so they're like, well, this is a big gamble, and it doesn't actually cost that much for us to give it a start. And if it catches fire, then we can dump a bunch into it, and it'll be great. But if it fails, then we really haven't lost that much. Like it just seems like they're doing like a shot in the dark with this. And if it hit, then yay, and they make a bunch of money. But if it didn't hit, then they were not really out that much. That's the only thing that makes any kind of sense to me. Because otherwise, it's like why do all this? Why put all of this pomp and circumstance around it and years of somebody apparently presumably working on it just to let it die?
well, I mean, they made an honest attempt, is what it was, and I mean, granted, if I'm remembering correctly, all the games had to use this uh, weird version of Linux, to actually get it, up and running,
Yeah.
and so not all games, so developers had to then go ahead and uh, program or rewrite things for that. So if you're a big company, you might already have a Linux version, so you can just tweak that, but other people trying to get more coverage, notoriety for their game, they went ahead. They had to actually do a lot of that code from scratch, and a lot of people, oh, not a lot of people. There's a handful of people that mentioned like, yeah, we're here sitting here developing for this thing, and spending time and man hours, and we found out about this cancellation when everyone else in the world did, you know. And I'm like, that would
uh,
be a slap in the face for sure.
that sucks.
Um, I mean, so I think the only service doing this now is Luna is the Amazon equivalent.
Okay.
I mean that's the one you buy the controller and it's supposed to do relatively something. I'm not actually a big fan of streaming games. I wasn't a fan of how PlayStation now does it either. The
Okay.
idea of being able to to download it and then have it, that's great. That way you don't have to be reliant on your your signal, whether or not you're connected Wi-Fi, wired, or just whatever your bandwidth is. So
Yeah, I tried PlayStation Now one time, and it was not really playable. I mean, on the like, if I was stuck in a bunker underground with nothing else to do, then yeah, you could call it playable, but it was not really any kind of enjoyable. So I was like, nah, I'm not gonna spring for this. Um, so yeah, like some kind of download. I mean, heck, even downloading the game in pieces, if they could do that, it's like, well, we're gonna gate you so you can't, steal the whole game or whatever. We're just gonna let you download it in pieces. That might be an idea. I don't know if anybody's thought of that or if there what kind of problems there are with that. I'm sure there's something wrong with it.
I was gonna say it couldn't be an open world game. You'd have to go back to old school level design,
That's true.
like literally hardcore, like Mega Man levels or something like that, where you're like, yeah, you can just download these piecemeal.
It's like
But when you
smaller
got some,
games. Yeah.
yeah, but when even something like God of War, it's even sectioned off. But because you have the ability to travel back to those places, then you come into those issues.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I think you're onto something though. I think there is something we could do, or that they could do about it, where you download, so you're not totally reliant on a constant bandwidth connection that's sucking up your bandwidth. That so many people have to deal with as it is. It's like you guys were gonna pass, you guys were gonna try to do this when so many people have bandwidth caps and can't really do anything, about that, and aren't gonna want to spend, like all of their bandwidth, downloading a game that they can do something, play some other way. So
well, so that's kind of like the trade-off in theory is like, well, if you're only streaming a part of it, you don't have to necessarily download the entire thing. You may only be, if you're only going to be playing, I don't know, 2 hours of a 20-hour game, it's like you might be using, you'd be using less data that way. But on the other side of that is like, well, if it's a long epic game, uh, and you want, it's like it'll be easier for you just to download the whole thing, and then just have it do a authenticator. Every time you log in, just ping a signal, being like, "Yep, this is you're currently connected. Yes, your subscription is valid," or something like that, and continue on. Netflix does that, or at least they did. I haven't done it for a long time on mobile. So you were able to download episodes of TV shows and movies onto tablets, and I remember doing that with my iPad back in the day. And yeah, it was nice because you can go on an airplane then, and then you have a list. And I think it was good for like a week. So
yeah,
if you didn't sign back on, everything would then just it would block you out after a week.
yeah. So there's answers to this. It's just whether or not they want to do anything about it, or there's demand for it, I guess. But
Yep,
yeah,
everything falls down the piracy rabbit hole. Essentially, is everyone's afraid that they're gonna somehow rework it so when you download it, you just send a fake signal or something, or you can spoof something to so that you're keeping it. I think that's mostly what they're worried about,
yeah. But the pirates already got it, so I don't
pretty
know what
much.
they're worried about.
All right. And so this next bit, it's like it was just a little bit of news that came out. Well, it's recently there's been some leaks of new PlayStation games coming out to PC. So most people already knew about like for example some images from Miles Morales coming out. Well, that was inevitable. I think it's actually slated for fall,
Hmm.
or like I think it's December is when it was slated for originally. And they just recently talked about some pics showed up for Sackboy and Returnal. Uh, Sackboy, I can take it or leave it, but the Returnal stuff is kind of neat because they showed some menu options. So essentially showing that it's going to have some ray tracing features and some other nice caveats. Just kind of showing that PlayStation's maybe putting a little more effort into some of these PC ports, and it'll be nice to be able to, if you have a good enough PC, to play on higher end hardware. Uh, you know, uh, PlayStation's been kind of late to the game when it comes to bringing things to the PC. But now that they're starting to, I think a lot more people are going to really have a good time with that. Even if it's a timed exclusivity for like the console, right? It's like, hey, you keep it for a year. After a year, we're going to release it onto the PC. I'm like, that's okay. I know a lot of PC people would be glad to wait, and those who have to have it, now, will still have their PlayStations. For me, I'm currently waiting for those new models of PlayStations, hopefully a larger hard drive and a slimmer console, and that's what I'm hoping for before I buy my PlayStation 5. So,
Yeah, yeah. This PC Sackboy. I mean, that's like little. That's like Little Big Planet, right?
same character, different, a little different style from the gameplay from what I've seen. I haven't actually played it since I don't have the PS5. But yeah, it's, Sackboy is the main
Character.
character of the Little Big Planet games, and those have always been really fun. Just little platformers, a lot of open sandbox creativity.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
played. I played the first one back in college. It was one of the few games that I had for PlayStation 3, and I really liked that game. It was very cute. It was very smart. It had a really cool like level builder. Um, I know this is kind of going off, but I just have to like talk about it. I built in that game. I tried to build a like a like a plane essentially, or like an osprey sort of helicopter sort of thing. And using the tools they had, and like with the rocket boosters, and where you could like grab different parts to make it go up or down. And I got pretty close, but I could never get it to operate properly. But it was really fun to try. It was really fun to try, and people made some really great levels even in that early one. I'm sure they made even better ones later on. Returnal was a game that I did want to play back when it came out. I'm a little bit less enthusiastic about it now, but and I have a PS5, so I can play it on that too. Um, but it's good that it's coming over. I think Sony is gonna become a little bit more amenable because they see that's the way that everything is going now. They sort of have to get on the bandwagon a little bit, or else they're gonna get left behind totally. They don't want to be caught totally off guard if there is a big sea change and Xbox takes the lead in that front. So it's good. I think that it's good that they're coming around. At least shows that they're not totally arrogant, that they are thinking about the consumer a little bit. So that's cool. But you're right. It's going
yeah.
to take some pretty beefy hardware to run that.
Well, the thing is, Returnal had. I was interested in that because they just announced, or they had a little while ago. They talked about two-player, the co-op in that game, and that seemed like it was going to be really interesting. Uh, it's Housemark, and they do a lot of just fun arcade games. All the old arcade shooters that were really popular in PS3, PS4,
Yeah.
like Super Stardust. That was one of the biggest ones that I come off the top of my head. I know they did like Next Machina, which is third person top down isometric like twin stick. They did a couple of those. They did Resogun, which was the PS4 launch one. I think it was a launch game,
Mm-hmm.
and that one like people just went mad for. It was just so yeah. They when they came out with this, there was a little change to their formula. 'Cause all their other stuff was really simple, really good, really addicting. But like this kind of changed up. It was still a bullet hell, but from this third person viewpoint. And yeah, it looked really good. It had a neat sci-fi theme that seemed really interesting. So that's coming out to PC, or it's or when it does, they just need to give us a date, and I'll be super happy for that. Uh,
Yeah, that'll be
and
good.
then kind of I mentioned it a little bit before, the changing of PlayStation models. So apparently, they had a die shrink just recently, and went from 7 to 6 nanometers for the processor. And apparently, it's drawing just a little less power, um, and there's just some minor internal changes, but it doesn't seem to be big enough to warrant actually getting a proper slim version. So
Oh, okay.
hopefully, it's one step in the right direction, I guess, but, even not all the locations, only some spots in the world currently have, this new model coming out. So it's, but as technology progresses, things get cheaper. It's one of those things that they'll most definitely shrink it down. But yeah, I just don't want that giant PS5.
Dude,
Like
it
on
is big. It is big and bold, and it's like white, so it's very bright. Any kind of light it catches and reflects. It doesn't bother me, but like I do respect the Series X for being a very compact, simple. Very, you can put stuff on it. You can do whatever you want with it because the PS5 is just this behemoth of a thing.
Yeah, I like the industrial look of the Xbox. It's just, it's the PlayStation. It's like it's a cool thing of like, hey, you went for a futuristic design, like you really wanted to change it up. I'm like, that's cool that you did that. Now give me a different option. That's
Yeah,
kind of what I want.
yeah, I mean a slim, when a slim does come out, they might have baked in a lot of sales for the slim. Just a lot of people are going to be like, man, if I could get a PS5 that or a 5.5, whatever the Pro is, if I could get one that's just a little smaller or has more of a ergonomic, design that's not ridiculously sticking out in my living room. Uh,
Something that I can lie flat without needing a stand for.
Yeah, I mean, and they give you some. I mean, you can they give you a stand to put on either way. They're like, you need to put
But
it on this stand, whether or not you have it or not. And it's like, it's just, it's like it's clearly not made to be laid down. It's not, or they don't want you to lay it down. As far as the outside design, it's just it's a pretty machine, but it could have been done differently, and it would have been fine, I think.
all right, so what else you got for us on the news front?
Gonna get kind of serious here. This is a little bit old news as far as when it actually happened, but I only heard about it, at least read about it back a few days ago. Uh, Kadokawa chairman, so the chairman of Kadokawa, who is the Kadokawa is a kind of parent company to Square Enix. And if you watch anime at all, you've definitely seen that name. The chairman of that company, named Tsugihiko Kadokawa, he has been charged with bribing a member of the Tokyo Olympics organizing committee with 69 million yen, the equivalent of about 476,000 US dollars. And this happened back in September. I think he was arrested on September 14th, and it's only just now coming out. So I guess the arrest and everything was done rather quietly. And if you'll notice that his name matches the name of the company, and he's the chairman. So pretty high profile arrest there. I'm kind of surprised more people aren't talking about it. Also, kind of strange because it's like if you're chairman of this company, I don't know about all of their salaries, but I would imagine his salary would be pretty pronounced, pretty large. So much so that even $500,000 US dollars seems like a pretty big risk for just $500,000. But he might have been taking a lot of bribes or bribing a lot of people. And it may not have. This may just be the one that we're hearing about. There might be more, but I thought that was pretty wild. That somebody so high up would be arrested on suspicion of bribery.
I don't know. Japan is still very much uh, an old school landscape when it comes to bribery politics. It's like I feel that it's still very underhanded in a lot of ways, where it's like, hey, why don't you accept this gift from my family? It's a nice cake or a pie. You check underneath the tin, you know.
Yeah, gift giving is definitely
Get,
a
yeah.
bigger deal in Japan than it is in other parts of the world. It's more part of the culture.
Yeah, and so I mean, heck, they love that key money system when you're renting an apartment. It's
Don't
just an
bring up
extra
key.
money. You just like,
Don't.
hey, thanks for letting me rent this apartment. Let me just give you this little extra on top. I'm not going to get it back, and I'm literally forced to give it to you when I sign in. But here's a gift from me to you.
Don't.
Um,
Let's not get started on key money, dude. I don't want to get started on key money.
yeah.
Oh,
Anyways, yeah. Japan always felt like there was a lot of
which
crookedness going on with their politics that was like open, but like also very much blatantly like ignored.
which
Uh,
to me kind of begs the question, like, who did he make mad? You know, because if it's sort of the business as usual, as you're kind of saying, then who did he make mad for them to tell uh for them to
it's
tell on
either
him?
either he didn't he either he got mad they got him mad, or my thought was he just was sloppy and got caught. There's a difference, you know. And now if you were able to do it and not get caught, that's the problem. Someone else, probably just found out in one way or another. The recipient was, they don't talk about the recipient. They don't exactly talk about, from what I little I've seen about this article, there wasn't a whole lot of discussion about the extent of the bribery
Yeah,
claims. You know, was it because I mean we America has gotten caught for bribery as well. I think it was the Salt Lake City games for bribery for just getting the games hosted in Salt Lake City. Um,
yeah. It's a dirty little secret, but the Olympics and especially FIFA, the FIFA World Cup, it's a corrupt system to get the games hosted in your country, which is why the FIFA World Cup is being held in Qatar this year. Back when they won that like 10 years ago or whatever, I was watching ESPN, and they were like, "There's no way that Qatar can host the World Cup. It doesn't have the facilities." And everyone was like, "Well, this is clearly corruption and bribes and underhanded payments." So yeah, like it just it doesn't really surprise me that it's part of the Olympics committee that which is what was being bribed, because like you're saying, like Salt Lake City, there was U.S. bribing going on there. So it seems like it's par for the course. But I kind of wonder if that might be also part of the issue, is that it was in an international situation, and maybe certain people were watching for something nefarious to go on, and they just caught him.
yeah, it's kind of that way been for a long time. I mean, also very much proven that the Olympics and World Cup actually do more harm than good to the locations that host them, because it's like the amount of the ideal is like, oh, people will come in, yes, like it'll create jobs because we got to build the right facilities, and then people will come in and we get the tourist money. They'll like it, they'll tell their friends, people will see it on TV, and then more people will come, and it'll be wonderful. We'll continue to get a influx of people for tourism, and that's usually not the case. When Brazil hosted both the World Cup and the Olympics, they literally killed a bunch of people trying to build the facilities fast enough.
Oh, I
Like
think I did hear about
they were
that.
the working conditions were so bad that and it was most definitely not ready in time for the Olympics. And yeah, it was just a
I
shit show
mean,
all around.
like Sochi was a shitbag disaster. I mean, that was like epic proportions of disaster, and they still managed to pull a lot of it. I mean, to pull it off, like a lot of the actual events like went off. I think without too much of a hitch, but the living facilities for a lot of the athletes and stuff were pretty atrocious. So yeah, it's a big giant, it's kind of a farce for them to put on a presentation, because the first world countries are going to win it, like all the time. London, United States, um, there's so many, there's so much better facilities and preparedness for those kind of things in the Western world, that it's kind of hard to say that it shouldn't be there every time. But it is what it is. But anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting. But there's, but I also kind of thought I also thought it was interesting how it just kind of was under the radar, and it's pretty much already happened. But I guess that's due to him being a pretty big time person. I imagine they just paid for it to go away for the most part.
Well, I was gonna say Japan likes to keep all their stuff hush, anyways. Anytime there's a scandal of any sorts, they're just like, all right, let's quickly move along. Yes, the tabloids get a hold of it for a hot minute, but then they just kind of quickly, here's the next thing. Like the attention span, they don't linger on much for long. And if it's really bad, they'll just try to wipe all history of said person. I mean,
Oh yeah, if
there
it's
was
like
that
if it's drugs, yeah.
for that the Judgment game where it was the Johnny's member, the Japanese idol, pop idol. He got caught with cocaine, and then they're like, we're wiping him from his character from this game, and we're expunging all of his CDs and anything him and his band were in. They're all gone now. He never existed.
That is just that is just the most baffling cultural thing. The difference, I just don't understand it. I mean, like cocaine is really bad, but like to nuke someone's entire life, uh, is just wild to me. But I mean, it's not like he
At
was
the same
dealing,
time,
you know.
okay, playing devil's advocate. Well, if you know that's what's going to happen, then maybe you just won't do it, huh? How about that? If it's that bad, if it's like, especially if you're in the industry, you're like, hmm. It's just like, imagine if you had that kind of retaliation towards Hollywood. I mean, we'd have all new fresh faces, but maybe the stuff wouldn't have gone to the extreme of having actors, for years and decades getting away with some of the stuff they've gotten away with, which is even worse, right? Because hey, they just got nuked for the small things, never got around to getting to the big stuff because we stopped, they got cut short.
Yeah, I mean, like it's not good to do cocaine, especially because it's illegal. But I think that the punishment should fit the crime, and like there's like jail time. It's like, hey, you got to go to jail, you got to do this stuff. But for like the rest of society to like also just completely turn you into a pariah is wild to me. It's just it does it.
Okay,
It,
this is
it,
going to
it
be the pain is relative thing all over again, man. It's, for us, our perspective, we're so used to having these things like more or less readily available, and this kind of culture is ingrained within us. While you have a close-knit society that's very much sheltered or sheltered themselves. And so what isn't that big of a deal to us per se is a much bigger deal over there.
well, I guess what I would say is that like we have like both Japan and the United States have laws, and and if you break that law, you're punished by the justice system. But the difference in in the US is that you go do your time and then you're out, and then everyone's like, all right, he paid his debt to society, he can go back to work, he can, do this or do that. But in Japan it's like you go and you go to jail, and then I mean, if he ever gets out, I don't even know how long he's in for, but the rest of society also punishes you. And I'm just like, I just don't think that's right. Like, I don't think that. I mean, people can do what they want, but it's just it just seems like, why is everyone else taking that? That's like a vigilantism to me. You're taking the law into your own hands when we've already decided as a society, as a group, as a government, as a justice system that this is the punishment for the crime.
Coming
So,
from the man from Texas. Okay.
I mean, like I don't know about every single Texas law, but like what people typically do here is they, I mean, as far as I've seen, is they allow the law to work, and then whenever it's done, they're like, okay, okay.
There's been a lot of issues with taking the law in their own hands in the last little bit in Texas for the last year or so.
I mean,
But
individuals, sure, individuals are gonna do crazy stuff, but and I guess
yeah,
like I guess a company is like that, and if they don't want to be seen, that way, then yeah, they have they have the ability and I guess the right to nuke all of their own material if it contains some a contaminated person. Um, so
you're
like,
also talking about a society that still looks at um the idea of saving face. It's very much America in the 50s where you got to do something like, hey, you did something wrong, you got to own up to it, or else you're going to literally embarrass your family because it's a small town. You don't want to, like, hey, World War II is here. Guess what, guys? You got to go to World War II. Like, you got called for the draft. What are you going to do? Dodge it? Then you know how embarrassing that's going to be for the whole family.
yeah.
Or yeah, so and so is the town drunk, and therefore their whole family gets shamed. Yes, the grandchild has no reason. Like, it's not their fault, but they're still going to be made fun of.
So you're
And that's
so you're kind of saying that like the company like takes on that responsibility where everyone's like, you let this person into your company and this is what they did, and so they're like, well, we have to wash our hands of it. We have to do our own correction, rather than
that
just
and society will do that as well, because like, once again, when someone does something of that nature, like any criminal corruption, their families are going to be like, their kids or whatever, they're going to be like, yeah, so and so's dad is a criminal. They are known for, they tried robbing a place, and they're going to get made fun of because of it, and they're going to be hassled. I mean, to the lesser extent, America will do that too. I mean, if you're
yeah.
found out, even nowadays, it's just like, but the thing is, they just have those older sensibilities where they actually care more, because it was you still have more of the extended family mindset, where you're still close knit. While America, we've gotten more and more nuclear when it comes to the family structure. So everyone's moving away from each other. You kind of don't care as much, and it's like, hey, I only got to worry about myself. Who cares about something like the rest of the family? It really is a different mindset. Now, I'm not saying it's right, what Japan does for, like, how they treat these situations. And there's much better ways of rehabilitation and ways to look at things. I'm just trying to explain kind of a little bit about what they're coming from. Because honestly, America does a lot of things really wrong with the way we correct, ourselves as well. There's no right answer, but there's most definitely better options on both sides. So,
Yeah, yeah, it is a different. It's just a different society and a different set of values. And that's how that's how they want to do it. So that's not really
I
anything to do
mean,
about it.
America got super angry when that U.S. kid went to Singapore, spray painted the car, and got caned. You know, uh,
I mean, I don't have any problem with that. Like, I wouldn't do,
like,
I wouldn't jaywalk in Singapore. Like, as I think Singapore is one of the places that will kill you for drugs. Is that?
I don't remember that, but I do know that I just always remember, like, I remember when that happened. I was living in Guam, and my father's buddy, who was a pilot for an airline, he's like, Singapore, one of the cleanest places ever. And then literally the next year is when the kid got caught for spray painting, and he's just like, I'm like, huh. Yeah, because he always said, like, it's clean enough to eat off the streets. Like, it was like, this is like early 90s. and because it was just immaculate as far as Southeast Asian country, and it's just like it was really amazing. I've never heard anything bad about it really. And then of course America was all up in arms, like you can't do that to her. Like, dude, you
Oh
go to a
no,
different country, you follow their rules,
not this
and it.
American. I mean, like, look, if whoever's listening, if you ever go to another country, you really need to think about it like you're in someone else's house because you have no rights there. You're barely human when you're in another country. You need to mind your P's and Q's. Don't break any laws, even dumb ones. Like, I remember when I was getting ready to go abroad to China and Japan, and I would read different people's bad experiences. I would specifically look out for bad experiences that people had and read what they had to say and try to read between the lines. And almost every single time, as I was reading their own account of how they were wronged or whatever, I'm like, there's like 10 different ways that you screwed up while you were in this foreign country. Like, you're in the wrong from jump, from day one, being in a foreign country. And you've got to like know that. Just know that going in and don't be a tool about it. Like, you're a kid spray painting a car from America. You're from America and you're spray painting a car in Singapore. Like, what did you think was going to happen? Like,
All right.
you got caned, bro. Like, it sounds like swift justice to me. But yeah, we're getting far
No,
field.
what
You're right.
you're talking about? Yeah, you're talking about death penalties in other countries though for drugs. There's a sign. So going from Cambodia back into Thailand, border crossing there. One, never go by land. It's always better to go by air, just because it's a lot quicker. Granted, it's been about 8 years or so, since I last did that, but it was a shit show. There was no organization. We didn't find out until we got into Cambodia from our tour guide. They said, "Hey, did you pay the guys when you did they tell you to pay the guys when you come through?" And we're like, "Oh yeah, sure. He's gonna ask him. He's gonna try to swindle some money from us." Okay, so how much is it? They're like, "No. You can't do it now. When you go through the border first time and they stamp your passport, you slip them money because that way you get like an express pass out." Because it's going to take you forever to get out. And sure enough, it took us like 3 or 4 hours to leave because like there was no real line structure. It's just cows being herded through the gate. And so we were just standing there and you're holding your passport in your hand and you're like, blue passport, American, you come here. We are going to huddle together and football our way slowly, all the way to the front of the line. And here you are at like 11 in the morning, beating sun. And I'm like, I have two bottles of Coke and Jack. It's like, in my backpack right now. Fuck it, I'm gonna drink both of these now. And then by the time you get to the border, you're like, you're fucking trashed.
You're
like,
pre-gaming.
All right, let's do this.
You're pre-gaming to talk to that border guard. Yeah, that's America right there.
Yeah, but at the same time, we're standing there and we're staring at the sign, and the sign says how it's bringing drugs over the border is illegal, punishable by death. We're like, okay, wait a minute, punishable by death. That's a lightning bolt for a P. Huh? That's a lightning bolt, right? They're like, yeah, that's Harry Potter font. They literally took the Harry Potter font and are using this as their marquee for the death penalty. Like, what? Is a wizard going to jump out and Avada Kedavra just murder you right there? Like, we're like, yeah, it was just such a shocking thing to see. We're like, oh wow. All right. Lightning
great.
bolt to death. And yeah. So don't bring drugs across the border in Southeast Asia. Yeah, if you want to live. Yeah.
That's too good.
So anyways, other countries have much harsher rules. And so just because you're you think you're famous or popular, maybe you shouldn't try to do that anyway.
Yep.
All right, next thing of news, Nick, go.
Cyberpunk, the next Cyberpunk game has been sort of announced of its existence by CD Projekt Red. The game is codenamed Project Orion. So it is going to be set in the Cyberpunk universe. Apparently also they're going to make some Witcher sequels. No further word on that, but those are going to be forthcoming. So, yeah, um, that's just a little bit of news uh, about that. And yeah, I don't think anybody has anything to say. Really, anything else about it? I guess I would just hope that they would make the new Cyberpunk game not buggy from jump, but since they have a lot of the groundwork done, maybe it won't be.
I'm I was enjoying the anime. I made a couple episodes in and just
Yeah,
unfortunately never got around to finishing it. I mean, but it
I've heard it's
had me
good.
interested.
I've heard it's good. But anyway, besides that, just gonna jump right along to the next thing. This is just for me. Magic the Gathering is going to have crossovers, not until 2024, but they're going to have crossovers with Assassin's Creed and Final Fantasy VII. Um, okay. I I don't know. I guess I should not be a curmudgeonly old man, but I I don't really care about Assassin's Creed. I like Final Fantasy VII. I don't really want them in my Magic the Gathering. Um, there's a guy named with a YouTube channel called Tellurian Community College. It's probably the most popular, biggest Magic the Gathering channel. Um, and I kind of agree with him when he says that the lore for Magic the Gathering is important. Like, yeah, you play it like a poker game or like a whatever card game, and that it has to have all kinds of rules, and the rules have to be fun and all that stuff. But the art on the card and the meaning behind that is important. To I think in general, and at least to me and then to him, they used to have books, like Magic the Gathering books, where they would like go through the lore and like show this or that happening. And when you have all kinds of crossovers, which they are having a lot of these days, it kind of cheapens the lore a bit. It's like, well, how do we explain this and that? And I don't really need it. I don't really need it. Everything to be crossed over. It's cool for things to just be what they are. And I mean, like I'm the big Nier guy, and Nier is always crossing stuff over into reincarnation, which is that's a little bit different thing than like a mainline game. So it's a more okay. But I don't know. I just like Magic to me is different than like Nier reincarnation. But even still, I would prefer it to not just. We don't have to do crossovers all the time. We don't have to do so much. Can it just be what it is? Anyway, I'm done.
Magic lost me when they started doing Denim Walk and those, speak like a pirate for the rest of the match and all this other bullcrap games,
Yeah,
cards. It was like that was I don't know, that was still like late 90s.
there's been some dark
Uh,
days. Don't get me wrong. There's been some dark days on Magic, and a lot of Magic is just revisiting rules and ideas from the past. There's not a lot of like new stuff. They're very scared of doing anything new or interesting. They also are not as tight on how they produce the game. Like I think it was one or two sets ago, they set the record for the most banned cards. Like they don't want to ban cards because that means that they put all this work into a card and then they play tested it and all this stuff came out. Everybody figured out, hey, this card's broken and we have to ban it. And they like had to ban like so many, just like last year. So it's been more in the past couple years than like the decade prior. So there's definitely more of a sense of just kind of pooping it out constantly and less emphasis on quality of production. So yeah, you won't hear any complaints from me on that.
well, I
It's
remember,
tough.
as far as crossovers go, I mean, there was the was it Universal fight system, I think it was UFS or something like that. So they had a bunch of card crossovers. You'd have like Street Fighter and I think like Mega Man and stuff like that, where theoretically is the same. It's like playing with D20 modern rules, so
Okay.
essentially everyone uses the same core system, and therefore you can interchange it to a certain extent. I know there was that Vice Shorts or something like Schwartz of in Japan where it was like any anime under the sun and a lot of video game properties were all turned into a short-lived deck of cards, and they were all playable in your hand. So if you go to any used bookstore, there's always a selection of these cards, individual ones that you can like, oh yeah, here's the one from this series that I want. You can mix and match, Dragon Ball to like Idol Master or some crap, and you would be able to play them in your hand. It was really neat. The artwork was really dope. Uh, but at the same time, I'm like, that's just too much effort for me to care, and it's all in Japanese, so I'm not gonna bother.
Yeah.
In fact, that was the last time I played Magic. Was 2001, 2002. I was a foreign exchange student. I got back into Magic because a couple kids in my class were into it, and
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. So I own like enough for a deck, a competent deck that was all in Japanese. And I'm like, this is stupid hard because here I am with a little electronic dictionary, trying to figure out how this game one is played, or you know, the internet was okay, but it was still like not every card you could find easily. And so it's just like, all right, I'm trying to find the U.S. equivalent of this thing. How do I translate this name? You know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I had a good time. It was fun.
Yeah, man, Magic is really good. It's really fun. It's a really well-made game. Popper is great to play. Anyway, I'm kind of getting
Just
I'm kind of
just
getting
stay
out
away
there.
from the real cards and just stick with only the digital.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I've known so many people who were so happy to play Magic on Steam, and it's
Well,
just
there's a couple different ways. Like there's Magic Online, which is pretty close to how you can actually play Magic physically. Um, it's not complete, but it is as it is like 99%. And then there's Magic Arena, which is probably like 95% of the rules of Magic are encapsulated in that. But that's kind of one cool thing about the game is that physically, in person is the only way to play the true game of Magic. It still has to be that. They're probably going to corner that eventually, and they are building everything toward Arena. And Arena is great. Arena is great to play. And that is where I recommend people go if they want to learn Magic, because they'll do a pretty good job of teaching you. You're going to struggle, but at least you'll get the gist of it pretty easily. And it does a lot of the harder stuff for you too. So anyway, that's enough about Magic. I think we got one more thing
yeah, it's
here.
just a small little little update. So the because you just recently got the PS5 and you don't have PlayStation Plus, you missed out last month on the Grand Blue versus fighting game.
Yeah.
But this month you got the Hot Wheels Unleashed game, which I'm actually excited about because my kid might actually be able to, get his attention on that one. Uh, but there's also the Injustice 2 game, which, it's the guys who do Mortal Kombat. It's a fun game. I have the first one. I never got a chance to play the second one. And the third game that's for free is Super Hot. And if no one's ever played Super Hot, just play Super Hot. It's a great game. I love it. I've beaten it way too many times. It's just a simple short game that it just kind of it's like if you want a quick little action fix that's not too difficult, it's a great little repeat.
Um.
So
That Hot Wheels Unleashed. Have you? I guess you haven't had a chance to fire it up yet, but if you do, can you let me know if that's the one? I think I heard about this game that it has a really cool theme song, and that apparently there's a part in it where the guy says "slap the bag," like "slap the bag" or something like that. I was listening to some podcast and they were talking about how cool it was, and it was just from this freaking Hot Wheels game. So check on that and let me know about it.
sure. All right. Most definitely. But yeah, it's I haven't had a chance to even download this one yet. They just became free this last week. And yeah, like I said, I got Grand Blue right before it went, like they took it away. I was like, I wanted to play that just because I heard it was a competent fighter. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't really care much about the Grand Blue series. I tried playing the mobile game. I wasn't into it. I watched the anime, didn't care. It was just, I was like, man, this must be really fun for someone who actually knows the series, but it really wasn't doing anything for me.
Yeah, man, that
But
was
I heard,
that was Arc System Works. I remember when that came out. When that game came out, I didn't get a chance to buy it, but a lot of people talked about it, said it was really good. Seems competent.
yeah,
Um, it didn't have like a lot of fighters. I don't think it had a very long life because they didn't really support it all that much. But it had a good short or a good small roster.
I mean, Arcs was coming out with so many things back to back, though. That was the problem is they can't really stick with certain ones for too long. It's the community that kind of has to do it for you. But at the same time, it's like they were pumping out. That's around the same time they came out with that Dragon Ball Z Fighters,
Mm,
um, and that one, that one still a lot of people still love that one. So you can't. Not every game they make can last the test of time, right?
yeah.
All right. So all right, we're now going to move on to what we've been playing. Uh, so yeah, you were mentioning a little bit about Nier earlier. So yeah, what exactly have you been doing with Nier?
Okay. So the Nier Switch port just came out as we're recording. Came out yesterday on Thursday the 6th, at least in the United States. And I went ahead and picked that up. 'Cause this is a little bit of a news portion too. I've been reading a little bit that the port was good, that it was, some people were kind of praising it pretty hard, saying, oh, it's so great and stuff. Um, but more kind of reports saying that, it's good, but it's definitely not perfect. I played about an hour of it last night, and I really enjoyed it. It is definitely from the screenshots I've seen and everything, some of the stuff that you've seen too, Joe. It's definitely making a lot of concessions, pulling back a lot of foliage and shadows and textures and stuff like that in order to run on the Switch. But that being said, 720p on a 5-inch screen on my Switch Lite, it looks great. It looks great. It's playing great. It's probably could be a little more. It could probably be a little more responsive. I did see somebody on Reddit posting that they had severe input lag, like they'd move the controller or the stick, and it would be about a second lag in movement. I haven't experienced that. I don't know how many other people have experienced that, but so maybe it was just that guy's broken ass Switch. I don't know. But overall, it's very playable. I was kind of worried about it since it's an action game, and the small
Yeah,
buttons of
the
the.
big thing about that was they went from 60 targeting 60 frames to 30.
Right.
But from everything I've heard, they do a good job of making it a stable 30. So it really wasn't that much of a hindrance in the grand scheme of things. Uh, it's like Digital Foundry does a really good job breaking this down, and to explaining essentially there's a couple things they do better. And essentially it's because certain technologies for anti-aliasing are around now, and so that you can actually make a few things look good, but at the same time it's uh the textures of the ground and stuff like that is a lot more muddied on the Switch version. So uh but at the same time, as you mentioned, if you're looking at handheld, you're not going to be looking at really up close at the fine details. Now when it's projected on your TV, that's a different story. But I mean, it's for everything it is, it seems to be a very competent port.
Yeah, I was worried about the kind of the small buttons on the Switch Lite, making it hard, and I think it is a little harder. I think it is a little bit more difficult to kind of get some of those combos and stuff off, but it's not too bad. So if you're not wanting to play it on like hard or very hard, then I think you'll probably be all right. Um, I would not. I don't know why you would buy the Switch version to play on your TV. Um, because there are way better. Well, I don't know about way, but there are to me better ways to play it that are also cheaper. If you're going to play it on a TV, to me, this is something that this is a port that you're only going to get because you really like Nier and you want to support it, and or you want to play it portable on a Switch. Um, and even
Hey,
then,
I think you don't realize how many people just own a Switch. Like they don't own another console. They like
oh yeah,
them.
that's
They
fine.
like the Nintendo
That's
franchises,
fine.
and I mean, so I think this is there for them. The thing is, I honestly didn't think it was gonna like. I thought it was gonna come out like hot trash.
Yeah, me
That's
too.
kind of what I was expecting. But I was pleasantly surprised from everything I've seen, and I'm like, hey, good on them. I forget the company who did the port, but they've done a couple good other.
Yeah, I forgot to.
Yeah, they did a couple other good ones. Uh, but yeah, it's just certain games have really come out to really impress. Doom is one of them. They made that one look amazing. Metro, um, 2033 and Exodus came out
Yeah,
and seemed to work pretty well. The one thing they can't seem to do well is their cloud service streaming stuff. That Kingdom Hearts apparently is atrocious. So not everything can be moved to a Switch, and nor should everything be moved to a Switch. But I mean, even like The Witcher is, for all accounts, like pretty solid uh, as a Switch version. It's not the definitive version, of course, but it's very capable. And yeah, it's the Switch is there. It fills a niche, and it's cool that people who may not have been able a chance to play Nier, actually get a chance to. So
yeah. I kind of surfing Reddit. I have seen a lot of people who are like, never played Near, but I decided to get the Switch version. Just came in today. So that's cool. That's really cool. But yeah, you're right. There's probably a lot of people out there who they don't have anything. They don't have anything but a Switch, not even a computer. But what I will say is, if you do have a PS4, PS5, or a decent computer, then you can play Near probably in a better situation for a lot cheaper. I think I picked up a copy of Nier Automata at the local bookstore for like $25, and then I've seen the ones online for like 15 used. So and then there's always the sales that they have on Steam if you go that route. So, but still, it's really cool that this exists, and I'm gonna enjoy playing it in bed right before I go to sleep.
yeah. Well, for myself, I finally got around to getting some time to try to do Saints Row multiplayer because uh, s- schedules have been all kinds of crazy. And a buddy of mine, we are like, all right, let's get this going. We started brand new characters. We're like, all right, let's try to link up. And they're playing on a PS5. I'm playing on a PS4. Uh, the first night was nightmarish. I think we actually got into each other's world maybe twice out of 2 hours of trying, and it was just every which way possible. Things were going wrong. So essentially, in the game, you can invite someone from in game. You can send an invite out from the main menu or from in game. You can then or join someone else's game, uh, and we've tried every which way. We're like, okay, how about you join my game from the main menu? How about you join my game from in game? How about I send you an invite from when you're in game, or how about I send you it from when you're in the main menu? Nope, no, oh, those four didn't work. Okay, now let's try the opposite way. Now you do the like now now I'll do all those things that I just told you to try to do. Uh, it just nothing seemed to work. It was just buggy as hell. Apparently one of the things we read is there's the EULA agreement, the
Yeah,
uh, and so you actually have to go in the menu setting, go to EULA, scroll all the way down, and then actually hit accept. Because despite you playing and despite you being online, and we actually linked up, like you haven't actually agreed to it. So that was something else someone said. So yeah, we spent about 2 hours just fully trying to get this thing, get like ripping our hair out, reading different people's posts, and they were like, "All right, fine, we give up." Next week rolls around, we finally uh we tried we tried again, and we seemed to be more successful. It was me on the PS4 firing up my world, and then having my buddy will then jump into my game. And then at least when he was sending the request to join my game, it was actually finally popping up with a window saying, "Hey, so and so wants to, join you. Do you accept?" Yes. And I would say about 80% of the time we were good, but we still had a number of drops and locks and just weird hiccups. So we would finish some side missions, and then then eventually something would lock up, and we would have to, or he'd get booted. We're like, all right, that's weird, and redo the mission again, and then we no be a no problem at all. A couple of times story mission wise, all right, story mission, go to point A to point B. All right, we're going to point B to actually kickstart this second part of the mission, and we can't actually enter. It's just great. Like the icon is here. I'm assuming there's supposed to be a cutscene. There's nothing. I kick my buddy from the game. I reload my game, load back in, invite him back in. It's like then it boots us in. We're like, okay, now we're working. Okay, sure. Cutscene. Make it to the end of that mission. He gets booted again. Like flipping a, really? Uh, so like I said, about 80% of the time we were okay, but still that 20% was still annoying because that was towards the end of that actual like story mission. Uh, and so yeah, we're like, all right, well it's late now. I'll play with you some other time. And like, well, I'm already like it reloaded me from the checkpoint. I'm gonna go ahead and finish out this mission. I went ahead and finished out the mission solo, and it ends like with later on it happened to be like a car chase scene, and here I am on the roof of my car with an RPG. I'm looking, and it's just like uh from the dialogue, I guess we're supposed to be being chased. There's we have like the star rating for the Los Panteros like gang, and it's just like, all right, so there we're driving around in a truck, going all crazy, and everyone's making like, people are the drivers complaining about how this vehicle handles like a boat, and it's just like they're playing this audio tape, and I'm just listening to this audio tape go while I assume there's supposed to be action happening. Eventually, we get like for about a couple minutes, maybe 3-4 minutes. I'm like, we're just driving around, not a single soul in sight. I'm like, okay, I think we're coming to the end of our checkpoint. I'm just gonna reload this whole thing. Maybe, for some reason, this didn't respond, just spawn any enemies. All right, let me reload checkpoint, and I just get to sit through all that, the couple minutes of dialogue all over again. Here I am with an RPG, never fired a single shot because there was no one to shoot at. Um, yeah, it was weird. I was like, all right, well, I guess it's just buggy as heck. All right, that mission. Later on, I go to a side mission, which is it's called riding shotgun, and you're doing like a drug running thing, or not drug, a weapons running thing. And yeah, you're literally supposed to be shooting at, you know, those Los Panteros again. They have a couple, your guys driving around all crazy, comes to a checkpoint intersection. Yeah, there's a couple guys in the intersection. All right, so I'm shooting at them. They don't react. Like they kind of shoot back, but they don't chase me. And then we come to another intersection. There's another group. We shoot at them. They don't chase you. And then eventually, just more dialogue happens. Like I'm assuming we're supposed to be being chased right now, but no one's chasing us. We hit a ramp, go in the air, and we don't quite land on the road. We land to the side of the road, and then we kind of get stuck behind a sign, like an actual road
Mm,
sign. I'm like, okay. At this point, I looked at my weapons and realized there's a lot of individual unlocks for each weapon. It's like some guns are like shoot out so many tires, or use this gun on this particular enemy so many times. And one was like something ridiculous, like shoot like 100,000 bullets or something like that. I'm like, okay. Uh, so it was a submachine gun. I was just firing into firing at the cars in the road. No one's really doing much of anything. They're just kind of, you know, taking it. And then it's like about 3,000 bullets later. I'm shooting the sign that we're stuck on. I'm shooting the car that I'm on. Nothing's happening. So I'm like, well, I guess I have to reload because I'm literally stuck. I can't move this game forward. Reloaded the whole thing again, and sure enough, same thing. No one's chasing us. Only a couple roadblocks for some people that we go around without a problem. And this time we finished the mission. We instead of landing in front of that sign, we actually land on the road from this jump and make it like 10 feet further, and then the mission ended. So I was like, you got to be kidding me. We were right there when the game stopped. And so yeah, the my takeaway is I'm actually having fun with the game, but it's most definitely like not meant for the PS4. It's you know, it should have maybe not even come out on the PS4 as an option if you're going to be missing key combat scenes, in my opinion. So
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of the problems are stemming from the multiplayer. But yeah, it sounds like it's kind of just broken on PS4. It's just not really there's not enough juice there. But I mean, I had fun playing as much as I did, about 10, 15 hours, maybe more than that, on PS5. Everything ran pretty smoothly. I had to do a reload like once or twice, but otherwise, it was pretty good, dumb fun. I enjoyed it.
well, I told you how I like to have celebrities as the person I'm playing as, because
Yeah.
then I'm just using my own headcanon of so and so actor or actress.
Yep.
And so luckily my significant other decided, because I voiced my complaint about not being able to play Jason Statham because there was no Cockney accent or nothing like that for a male, but there is a female one. So they went ahead and made me Helen Mirren. So
All right.
I'm like a younger Helen Mirren. I'm like, yeah, okay, I totally do that because
That's cool.
they have a female UK accent. So I'm like, sweet, this works. I can most definitely, burn the city to the ground playing as her.
Yeah. Helen Mirren is clutch. That's cool. All right, man. That's
So yeah.
pretty cool.
All right. Now, do you need to take a break?
No, I'm good. I'm good to power through.
All right. Sweet. All right. Now we're gonna go into what we've been watching. So I've been talking a bit, but was there anything you wanted to take away right away for anything you've been watching?
I think I meant to kind of bring this up in news, but the Super Mario Bros. Trailer just came out.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just kind of watching that. I was like, oh, I should have known it was just going to be a kids movie. That's fine. I mean,
it's done by Illumination, right? The guys who do the Minions. So yeah.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah. But another thing that's kind of related to that, also in news, is Nintendo did just buy a studio, and they're going to make their own movie, like Nintendo Films or Movie Studio or something like that. But so I guess they're going to do a lot more. But I don't know. Watching that trailer, I don't know. I was just like, man, I wish this could have been just a little bit less of it, just a kids movie. I did see a tweet. Somebody said that at New York Comic Con when it aired, that like nobody made any kind of cheering or anything whenever Mario came on screen or spoke, but everybody cheered a lot whenever Bowser came on screen and whenever Luigi came on screen for like a split second. So I think that that kind of goes to show what people kind of think about it so far. Also,
they make Mario look like a Keebler elf or something like that. He has these like really like lawn gnome cheeks and like features. I don't know. Bowser was Bowser. I really don't care. It was very lackluster.
And then I watching the man. We should have put all this in news. I can't believe I totally forgot about all this. Watching the Nintendo, I won't talk too much longer. Watching the Nintendo Direct on this, Chris Pratt has a pre-recorded message where he comes on. Looks like he's in his living room or something recording, and he just seems like he is just being paid to say that he played Mario a bit as a kid, and now he's the voice, and he's like so glad to be the voice. And it just comes off the most like, I'm paid to be here. I'm a severe fan. I'm a severe fan of Mario. That's just the way that it comes off. and I just like, man, at least the
I did
lady.
notice.
Go ahead.
Huh? Oh no, I laughed to myself because I noticed they had to change the "Here we go" to "Here we come"
Why?
because that's Charles Martinet's line of Mario, like "Here we go." And so
Uh,
he's like, in the trailer, I forget which he's like, he says whatever place, so he goes, "Here we come," and I'm like, that's unneeded.
yeah. Anyway, I was just gonna say, like, at least the lady that's gonna be in the Assassin's Creed game, the big time actress that they have playing the side character in that. You know, she sat down at a studio. She had good light. She talked like directly into the camera the whole time. It was scripted and stuff, but she like put her best acting foot forward. And this like Chris Pratt thing was just him going like, was like, yeah, I played Mario as a kid. I really liked it. I'm just really glad to play Mario. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it for you guys. I'm gonna act and use my voice to play Mario. It's like, okay. But anyway, that I saw Thor Love and Thunder. It sucked. And anyway, ready. That's all I got to say. What do you have to say, Joe?
Yeah, it's you complained to me a little bit earlier about how much you didn't like Thor, so I won't make you relive that again. Um, the takeaway is just pass that one by. Okay. Lucky for me, I haven't come across any of the Marvel stuff since Hawkeye. That was the last thing I watched, and I'm probably gonna keep it that way for a while because now I feel like I've gone too far behind and I can't keep up.
Just,
So, but
yeah.
what I have been watching is your boy Kongming. They finally started dubbing that one, and so I just finished episode 3.
What do you think of the songs, or do they change the songs in the dub?
No, those are still the original. So like they have them speaking in English with the Asian accent. Uh,
Man,
it
those songs, they're
it's
good. They're good. They're good, except for the English is I don't know, is not great. But
it is what it is, man. It's just it having lived overseas enough. It's just I used to make that joke about J-pop all the time too. It's just like it'll be I'm like it would be so I'm like especially I don't know in the late 90s they would say random words just like I'm gonna throw in just this like for no reason at all other than to have English in here and be like I'm just gonna throw in hello. So they throw in a hello in there because it's in English or like an I love you because those are the few words that they can say confidently enough. And yeah, it's like I'm like, you know how weird it would be, and I'd say this to my adult students. I'm like, so if we're singing an English song, and out of nowhere we just be like, like harata or something like that. Like I'm hungry or something. Just like it wouldn't work, right? Or like ashiteru. Like I love you, and like it would be so weird to hear some like in sync or something like that say just spout off one random Japanese word mid song. Now that's how it feels for us Japanese all the way through, then also just out of
well,
nowhere, you just throw an English word in our face.
I mean, I guess I shouldn't say like English because I don't remember too clearly, but the actual words in the songs were more or less okay. Some stuff was a little bit wonky, but it was sort of the accent of
Oh no, it's heavily accented. Yeah, it's
yeah.
which actually we'll go into a little bit later. Like they do this with another anime that I'll just jump ahead to, The Emissary of Shadows. It's that one I've been reading for years, and uh I like it. It's a dumb read. It's fun. But in this Japanese uh, you know, subtitled version, he does say some stuff in English, and the stuff he says is very awkward because he's like, "I need the power," you know, in English, and then everything else is in Japanese. Um,
Is that the eminence of shadow or the essence of shadow, or are
uh,
they different?
Eminence. So it's I think it's essentially the episode 1 that has come out uh does a reworking of it's an isekai anime.
Hmm.
They do a little bit of backstory behind it.
Okay.
Uh, the backstory in the comic is like 3 pages long. Like literally, you 3 pages, and then he's isekai'd. This one they dedicate almost the full episode to.
Oh wow.
Uh, and so uh, they took some liberties, which I understand why they would do it for anime. I really wish they didn't, because what made it so great is essentially it's a guy who loved the idea of being a superhero, trains himself to become as tough as possible, and realizes that he will never be strong enough to fight off a nuke. And so magic is the key. So now he's trying to unlock magic.
Okay.
Uh, and so when you see him walking in the school, he has a normal head, but he has the beefy body of like 3 times the size of proportional to his head. So he's big, chunky meat man with a little tiny book in front of his hands. Um, and that is the main character. They make him very much a pretty boy in yeah, in this, and it's funny, but it's not necessary at all because he's isekai, and they do a great spoof ending. Like they throw credits about 2/3 through, and then then they roll into the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's I have high hopes for it only because it is so dumb, and I love the series. It's all about a. Do you when I say chunibyo, do you know what I mean?
No, I've not heard
Okay.
that word.
You still need us to learn a lot about anime. Uh,
Still young in the
uh,
ways of the anime.
so Chunibyo is like roughly equates to middle school syndrome. Chuni.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
I
so
gotcha.
that's the idea is when you're a young kid and you pretend to be something like uh so every like any kid who liked Street Fighter growing up, at one point or another, you kind of try to pretend to throw a fireball,
Yep.
same with Dragon Ball Z or something like that. So imagine taking that to the absurd level, and like, the cringe factor, and so essentially that's what this kid is.
He's a LARPer.
Uh, yeah, kind of single player LARPer. Uh,
That's pretty sad.
so
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's I'll spoil the comic for you because he gets isekai'd because he's trying to do magic in the woods, and he runs. He just full on runs through the woods. He pops out, and I'm pretty sure he's just in his boxers, and he just gets creamed by a truck. Truck-kun strikes again, and that's how he gets isekai'd. Uh, and he lives his whole new life in a world of magic and fantasy, and he's like, no, I can have my power fantasy, so I'm gonna go ahead and hunt bad guys, and I'm gonna do all this stuff. And he's just like, but everything he does is on the chuny level. He's like, I'm gonna be in the shadows who hunt the shadow. Like it's just nonsense all the way through, and it's wonderful. It is just great stupid stuff. He starts saving people. He's like, you should join my team, essentially. And they're like, he's like, oh, well, what are we like? We have to fight the evil. Well, what's the evil? And he's like, he pretty much like starts making up a thing, and then all of a sudden everything he makes up starts to become true. And it's
Okay.
just like, yeah, there's an evil organization, and sure enough, there's actually an evil organization. And so in his brain, he's just like, these people are just playing along with me, and it's just like, no, there's an actual real structure, and he forms a real like company. But in his brain, he's like, oh no, these are the couple people. Yeah, they follow me, and then we're all kind of like doing this thing, but uh, they're real. They give him all the credit. He's like, yeah, obviously I'm here for that. I'm here for my own reasons. They're like, oh, you must have already figured out this, that, the other thing. And he's just like, yes.
Yeah, for sure.
So no, it's such a stupid show, but and so I'm really looking forward to it because it's great. Yeah. Now that I've said really high good things about it, it's probably going to take. But
Yeah, you probably jinxed it. You probably jinxed it. But like
it's fine.
as far as your boy Kongming, you enjoying
How far
that?
did you get in that one?
I
Yeah, I
got
was going to ask how.
I think I finished episode 4. And
Okay.
I kind of did want to go back to it. But some other stuff came along that was good. So yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's funny the way that they make everything in this totally alien world to him uh, a strategy, a battle of strategy, and it's funny and fun the way they do that.
Yeah, I actually like the nightclub owner.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah.
is
So I finished
is a pretty
episode
cool
3.
cool dude.
She did the outdoor venue,
Yeah,
and no, it's entertaining. It's a good watch. There's nothing really bad about it because it's lighthearted. It's a fun thing to just enjoy. Um,
I would be curious
and
as to who they got and what kind of voice they have for Kongming, because in the Japanese version, his voice is pretty spot on. I don't know. It's like that's exactly what you would expect. So I need to check that out.
I enjoy his English voice. I don't recognize him off the top of my head for anything else, but at the same time, it's just I don't, not saying that person isn't in a lot of other popular things. It's just like I couldn't instantly be like, oh yeah, that's totally, which is probably better for me that
Mhm.
I'm not thinking of a different character while looking at that person, because that does happen. There's only so many voice talents to go around, and if you recognize something, all you can ever see is that character. Uh,
Yeah,
so yeah.
yeah. It's everything starts to blend together.
All right. I've also been watching Call of the Night. I
Okay.
mentioned this before, I think, and I can't remember to what extent because I think I just started watching it. Uh, the the music in that is just stellar. I really
Really?
like it. Um, it's one of those things that not only like I enjoy it, the opening theme song is fun. The ending theme song is really great. It's done by Crazy Nuts.
Okay.
Uh, and it's a Japanese rap group. It's one vocalist and his DJ
Yeah.
who does the mixing, and then there's just the sound design, like the music they have playing in the background, the vibe they got going on. It's very it's a very different anime. It's just because everything is very quiet and like there's a lot of isolation.
Okay.
They're going through city streets and you don't see anyone. You end up seeing the color palette they choose for everything in the background. It's it's very much I don't know. It's vibing with me really well. I'm loving the crap out of it.
This
Uh,
is one that caught my eye for some reason. I did want to watch it. I don't know anything about it. I didn't see any trailers or anything, but I just saw the cover and I was like, looks like it might be kind of cool. So you're saying it's pretty good?
I like it a lot.
Okay.
I really do. I look forward to it. It's it's funny. It's a lot of dialogue because because there's not a lot of going on around, and it's very much like has that isolated feeling. It's very much carried by what's being said, and it's funny. It's enjoyable. Yeah, but like I said, I'll just listen. I'm like, whatever music beat they got going on, or they'll have like a tone, like I'm like, yeah, that's. But I also really like that kind of stuff in the background. So most people may not even pay attention to it, but for me, I picked up on it right away, and I'm like, yeah, this is good. Like this scene or whatever, they got this, pretty, got my mind in the right mood, I guess. So totally enjoying that. So is my spouse, and the art is a lot of fun. It's the same. I think I mentioned before. I think it's the same art from Dagashi Gashi,
Hmm.
which is just an anime about a kid who owns his family owns a little snack shop in the middle of nowhere, and a for some reason a corporate like essentially it's like a chocolate or a candy tycoon daughter comes by to talk to the father who owns the joint because he's apparently used to be in the industry, and all they do is talk about snacks and the different ways they eat snacks. So if you need a tutorial on Japanese snacks, the gashi gashi is a really good one, from everything from like umaibo to like the ice creams and stuff like that. It's a fun little slice of life and a good educational tutorial about Japanese snacks.
Nice.
So yeah, totally worth it. But it's the same art style, I'm pretty sure. I and yeah, it's a solid one for me. Another one that I've been watching is the Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? Season 4 just started getting dubbed, and that one's a fun one. It's I don't know. Essentially, it's the concept is the gods all come to Earth, and when I say the gods, I mean all of gods. It doesn't matter what like what religion, what era, like all the gods have essentially descended, or at least a large portion of them from uh, covering all sorts of pantheons, and people essentially team up with the god of their choice. They are this is a world of fantasy and magic, and there's a giant tower, dungeon, and so they literally just start clearing levels, and that is their goal. And so they create, whoever whatever god they're backing up, that's their family, and yeah, it's just it's a lot of RPG and fantasy based elements, but the it's one of those things that, like, I never expected it to get, like, a season 2. I'm like, "Oh, cool, season 2, nice." And then it just keeps on going. I'm like, "Yeah, that's, um, the main character is fun enough, and all the side characters are plenty interesting." It's not like I wouldn't say it's award-winning, but it is a I don't think I've wasted my time with it, and I'm glad that season 4 is out.
Yeah, I think it's pretty.
So
I think it's pretty popular. It got a lot of fans and stuff like that, and it's just sort of a weird little take on it. I haven't had a chance to get into it. So season 4, I don't know if I ever will. There's a lot of other stuff to jump on with. So, but I'm glad you're enjoying it. That's pretty cool.
yeah, I mean, I think it was at season 4 of Overlord, also out now, so, still recommending that one highly. And then the last one is, just finished, a weird a weird and silly one. It's just, Life with an Ordinary Guy Who Reincarnated into a Total Fantasy Knockout. Um, yeah, it's so essentially 2 guys, old childhood friends in our world, they get isekai'd by a goddess, and during a drunken rant, one of the guys was just, they were at a mixer, and he's like, girls are all stupid. Like, I want to be a girl, and I want to be a blonde, and this and that. And it's like, I want to be, like, irresistible. And so the goddess is like, all right, cool. I'll grant you your wish. Now you're going to my world, and you're gonna fight the demon lord. um, yeah. So it's essentially, uh, the buddy's like, yeah, he's the serious type. He's like, I can't fall for her because that's a dude, you know.
The braid is still a dude.
So it's just really funny. It's just a comedy, and it's very simple, but it was enjoyable.
Gender
Uh,
bender comedy. Yeah.
yeah, they just finished that one up, and that was all right. Uh, I felt like that was also just a pure, just decent comedy.
Is that
Um,
is that his first season?
yeah,
Okay.
and I don't know. I would be surprised if it got another season. I think it's fine just ending it where it is. It's just like it, there is more story to tell, hands down, but it was never anything too serious in my opinion. It was just you're
Yeah.
watching it for the sake of watching it. Like, it really goes nowhere per se. So if you want something with more story, more like, or like more gravitas, I'm like, no, no, dude, this is just it's nice background stuff. Uh
But
it's an
it's not.
enjoyable watch, but it's nothing like, oh yeah,
You
you need
gotta
to
see
watch
the
this.
end, every drop of story. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
no. All right. Well, that's really it on my front. Like a lot of anime, no movies. Though there's I was told by a coworker that I should watch was it the Midnight in Soho? So it's Edgar Wright, guy who does Baby Driver, and the Cornetto trilogy, the Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, World's
Okay.
End. You
Okay.
know, so uh, so I'm curious about that one. It's supposed to be kind of a psychological horror,
Okay.
and so it's like a buddy work really recommended that. So I was like, all right, I'll try to give that a shot. I got a couple days off coming up soon, so I'm gonna go ahead and maybe get around to actually watching a movie for a change.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah,
movies are so hard to watch. Like, I even now I'll watch a movie in probably about 4 or 5 pieces. I just unless it's really good, and I'm like, dang, this is so good. But otherwise, it is really hard to sit down and watch a whole dang movie.
yeah, for sure. I mean, since I have a couple days I'm taking off, I was like, oh man, I could go to the theater. I don't remember the last time I went to the theater. I'm like, what's even playing in the theater?
Yeah, yeah. There's stuff that's gonna be playing, but yeah, it's I don't know. Um, I don't know,
All
man.
right.
It's expensive. It's
So
expensive to go to the theater, and I got good popcorn and Dr Pepper at home. That's reasonably cheap. But yeah, you have fun though, and let me know how it
yeah,
goes.
for sure. Yeah, I'll probably come back with a story too to tell next week. And yeah, before heading out, I would like to a shout out to a different buddy, Nick, who he just had his birthday last week. So happy birthday, Nick,
Happy
belated,
birthday!
and
Happy birthday!
happy birthday to my spouse. Her birthday's coming up. So yeah, I actually everyone, almost all my friends have November and October birthdays. It's crazy how many people around this time of year. Um, yeah, you're one of the only people that I know has a summer birthday, so you're free.
Yeah, I mean, like both. Well, my mom has a birthday, in 2 days. Um,
Well,
so
happy birthday to your mom.
happy birthday to my mom. Some other people around this
Yeah.
time too. It's wild.
Well, all right, guys. Thanks for making it to the end. Shout outs to any of you guys out there who are having birthdays in October. And yeah, until next time, take it easy.
See you around.